Hi everyone, I hope you're all keeping well. This reading that I'm going to share with you today is UK specific, so I have to do the disclaimer and tell you before I go into anything that this is for entertainment purposes only, my thoughts and opinions, it's not fact. So the first thing that keeps coming through is obviously it's the budget, it's everything going on around what Rachel Reeves will or won't decide. And what I get from this in my reading is that we have this huge facade of goodwill, but it's all wrapped up in fraud. It's like there's people behind the scenes and there's negotiations going on, and I keep on getting things like everyone has a price, so people and alliances are basically being bought. The fraud I get is to do with statistics and to do with data. So I know she gets this forecast from the OBR, but I feel as though the forecasts and the analysis or the data she uses to actually create her budget, it's like the budget's been set and then she fudges the data or cherry picks the data to fit around that, and that's where I feel the fraud is, and people are being bought and sold and getting put into positions of influence and power. So I don't feel as though we're getting a good budget. I feel as though this is, like I said, this is a fraud, so it's going to come back to haunt the UK, and it will lead to Rachel Reeves stepping down. I feel at some point next year there's going to be this huge public pressure for her to leave, and when she does leave I get that it's like the will of the people, so it could be a forced resignation, but it won't be seen as a forced resignation. As well as that, I also keep seeing the demon from Jeepers Creepers. It was a demon in a movie, for anyone who doesn't know. A really old movie, and every sort of 20 years this demon would come back and it would take things from people. And I feel like I'm getting the impression now that everything Rachel Reeves goes after, everything she's going to take, is something that belongs to you. So I feel as though she's coming for a lot of things that are yours after tax. So I feel like it's pensions, savings, houses, cars. It's something that you feel is yours, and that's what she's going to come and take to you. I feel like it's slightly different to just a standard tax increase, because with that it would be, it'd be taken before it comes into your pocket, but it's something that comes to you first and it's then taken back, that she's going to come for through the budget. I'm also getting a policy change, or quite a few, and they're all to do with digital, it's like digital IDs, AI, technology. But there's also one specifically, and it's to do with cryptocurrencies. I feel like there's this increased regulation coming in around cryptos, and probably should be, because there's a lot of it used for criminal activities, and that's the good side of this. But it's like she's going to be monitoring people. So she's monitoring your digital footprint, because there's an element of surveillance in this, but it's also coming after cryptocurrencies. It's like a regulation to get them more in line. I feel like they're not on the stock market or anything like that, because I feel like it's to do with the City of London as well. So that's the regulation that I feel is coming in around cryptocurrency. I've also got something here, and it keeps coming back to communism. I just keep seeing communism, communist parties, and I'm torn through a lot of things on this. So the first thing I have is that there are people within the Labour Party, and they're attached to, how can I describe it? They're attached to different organisations, and these organisations have links to communism. And I keep getting that that's where all these state secrets and these, things that could be trivial, that's where they're all going. That's where all the leaks are coming. It's from the communist organisations at the very left of the party, briefing against the leadership. I also get something to do with a communist country as well, which I feel is China. And it's obviously, there's lots going on now. It's all in the papers and things, but there's a lot of headlines coming after the budget, and it's basically like, a lot of the headlines are saying that Rachel Reeves has surrendered the UK. So she's basically admitted defeat, and she's left the UK vulnerable. And I feel like there's this communist country link here, which is China, but I also have these organisations, so non-government but external to the UK, and it's like they've got some sort of negotiated influence over the UK budget, and it's basically like the UK is going to end up very, very vulnerable to these organisations or institutions, like global scale ones, something similar to the WEF or the IMF, but the UK is going to end up very, very vulnerable to them in the future. And I think that's going to be within the next 12 months, to be honest. But this budget, it is going to backfire massively. It's based on things that are falsehoods. It's based on things that are not proved. It's like a huge gamble that she's taken. And like I said, behind the scenes, it's being done for people that's going to be moving into positions of money, power and influence. But it's not good for the UK. There will be, I feel like there's going to be a rebellion within the Labour Party over it, and there's also going to be protests later on down the line. I feel like there's going to be another link to farmers, and in sort of 12 months time, when the harvest comes round again, basically Rachel Reeves is going to be blamed for something in the budget that hinders food production in the next years to come. There's also something going to come back to bite her to do with the energy sector too, some sort of policy or tax that she imposes on that. But the budget, I feel like the budget itself, it's not going to be as painful as people think it is, or it's not going to seem as painful as they thought it was going to be. But it's like everything's hidden in plain sight, and like I said, it's this big facade of goodwill, but when you actually delve into the fine print, it's going to be quite damaging for a lot of people going forward, and it will result in her resignation in next year. One more thing on the budget. Kier Starmer is going to have to deal with some sort of rebellion, and I do feel as though there could be a couple of Labour MPs that actually step down because of certain provisions within the budget, and they'll move across to a different party. So yeah, there's at least, I feel like there's one resignation because of the budget. It'll come before Rachel Reeves. I don't feel until the repercussions are actually felt from the budget, and the people are turning against her, that's not going to happen. And I feel part of it as well, Starmer's been so supportive of her because he needs someone to blame when things go wrong economically. He has to have the Chancellor who done it. She's going to be the one, to blame for all of this. I also get around the Labour Party and government, there's another resignation, and it's people in public office. It's someone who has a lot of influence, closely aligned to politics, and male, female, the two of them, it feels more like a fall from grace than a resignation. And they basically, the two of them have been misusing party funds. I don't know why, I just automatically started feeling about the SNP there, but that was Nicola Sturgeon, that's a while back. But there's this misuse of party funds, and there's something coming with these two people, a couple, and there's this big fall of grace because they're actually found guilty of what's been going on as well. The immigration bill, I do feel that's going to pass. There's a lot of negotiations going on now. It will pass, but it's almost like it needs support from the external parties too. So they need support from their opponents in Parliament to get the bill passed. I feel like the Labour Party, the ones who are rebelling against certain things, they're more likely to switch. And I don't know if it's going to be the Greens or your party, but I think over the next couple of months, I would say anywhere between 3 and 5 of them are going to start walking across the floor and going towards a different party rather than remain in Labour. So in addition, I keep on getting these power outages, things that Kier Starmer is going to have to deal with over the next few months. I And I feel like because of them, there's going to be these new rules and policies put forward. Now, something major that keeps coming out, I think I've said it a while ago in one of my predictions, and I said this nuclear sub, something under the water. Well, it keeps coming out in my readings, and it's coming out again, and I feel like this is linked to the UK because it's something that affects people globally. But I feel like there's this military exercise, there's lots of different equipment involved, but something goes wrong underneath the water and there's this explosion. And once that happens, it's like some sort of man-made disaster then causes what should look like a natural disaster. So it's an explosion under the water that then causes some sort of tidal wave or tsunami that would go into land. I don't feel as though it's in the UK, but I feel as though there's this link to the UK because there's a global impact, and it's a country that we're friendly with, so there's an alliance here, and there's sort of a duty to help. Another thing coming forward, I do feel like Kier Starmer will have some success in certain things, but the main thing I'm seeing is all these headlines against him again, so people backstabbing. I've never felt that he would do the full term as Prime Minister. I've always felt that he would, it's like a forced resignation from him. So with Keir Starmer, I feel like there's people protesting everywhere. Basically, public services are on their knees. His own party turns against him. That's the final thing. There's protests going on everywhere. People are on strike. You know, obviously we've got strikes in Birmingham, but it's like every single thing goes wrong. And in addition to all of that, it's like the country is almost on the brink of bankruptcy as well. So everything's going massively wrong. Then his party turns on him. He's forced to stand down as Prime Minister. But I always feel like when he does, almost as some level of punishment towards the people who've ousted him, he calls a general election. And I feel like at this point, the Labour Party has separated into so many different factions. He's going to tell them that, you know, the people can vote for what they want, the changes they want, and the type of party they want. But beneath that, there's a bit of revenge there for him as well. It's like, you know, you've forced this upon me, so now I'm going to force the election on you and see basically how well you do there. But I don't see that being immediately. It's not going to be this year, definitely not. Possibly the later end of 2026, but it's just I've never ever seen him doing his full term as Prime Minister before he steps down. Whenever I do a reading on Kier Starmer or Rachel Reeves, I'm almost have this like puppet government feel to it. It's like there's someone else stood there in the shadows that's pulling all the strings. It's not actually the people who are supposed to be in power. But I do feel over Christmas there's a lot of negativity coming for Kier Starmer. I feel like he's going to actually concede defeat on something. It could be to do with deportations and immigration. Whether or not that bill passes in Parliament, I just think there's so many hurdles for him to come across with it. In the end, like getting it through Parliament's one thing, but actually implementing it is another. So I think there's going to be quite a lot of negative publicity around that over the Christmas period too. But like I said, I've never seen him doing his full term as Prime Minister.